Hello there, welcome back, and thank you for joining me on the Our Platform. This is the Our Platform, and in today's video we're going to continue with our conversation on the principle of compassion. Compassion is not that popular. I was surprised to see many views on that video, and we started our conversation on self-compassion because compassion starts with you. Because when you are compassionate as a person, you will be able to understand how others will feel in a certain situation. When you show yourself some self-compassion and you take care of yourself, then you are able to save yourself some energy and some grace and some resources that would enable you to be able to show compassion to your community. Self-compassion is key to community compassion. Because until you take care of yourself, you don't know how to take care of others. Until you take care of your own health, you don't know how to help others when they are dealing with an health situation. Compassion starts with you. We concluded in that video that compassionate people, self-compassionate people, they know how to use the language called no. They know when to say no. Self-compassionate people, they have boundaries and they know how to define their boundaries and know when they have had enough. Self-compassionate people, they are very, very vocal about what they need. They understand what they need. They understand what they need to give and they understand what they have to keep. In today's video, I'm going to build on the story on the Samaritan, the Good Samaritan story that is coming from Luke 10, 29 to 37. And I started telling the story in the last video. I started with a certain man. Jesus told this story because this is not a parable. It was a story of a certain man that we do not know. Because sometimes the Samaritan, the helpers that God will send our way are people that we don't know. People that may not know us. So a certain man, and he was traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho. And on the way, this certain man was met with some set of thieves. Those who are using their creative power in a negative way. Thieves. They were sharing and distributing a negative service that is generating a negative externality on the environment. And these people ripped this man off of his stuff, of his wealth, and they also wounded him. And that they left him wounded on the way. And the Bible made us understand there came down a certain priest. A certain priest also came down. If you read this story, you will understand that every one of them is certain. A certain man, a certain priest. And then after the certain priest came, the certain priest saw him and quickly walked away from the scene. And then came a certain Levite. A certain Levite saw him and quickly turned eyes to the other side. And then came the Good Samaritan. And the Bible made us to understand, but a certain Samaritan, every one of these people were certain. That means each of these people, including the victim here, they are all certain people. They are all random. I'm going somewhere with compassion. Because when you talk about compassion, you are showing compassion sometimes to people that you know and people that you don't know. You are showing compassion to people that are very random, that may not necessarily be able to benefit you or be able to reward what you are going to give them. I remembered that in that video when I was talking about self-compassion, I said we should know when we have had enough. But there are times that we are people pleaser. There are times that we have to pull out our resources, our savings, just to take care of the need in our community, take care of the need of a certain man that we don't know. So we saw the Good Samaritan. He stepped in, he was journeying alongside, he was going somewhere. He had a destination, he was going somewhere. But as soon as he saw that situation of another man in a very difficult situation, he was empathic. He quickly changed his schedule. He stepped aside to where the man was lying. The Bible made us understand that this man went to him. He bound up his wounds. He poured oil and set him on his own animal. He set him on his own ride and brought him to an brought him to a place where he could get taken care of. And then the Bible said he took care of him. And then on the next day, when he was about to leave, so his schedule changed because he had to sleep over. His schedule changed. He was going somewhere, but he had to change his schedule because of a certain man. And then the Bible says he took some money out of his pocket and gave them to the host and said to them, he quickly took up the responsibility of becoming the guarantor here for a man whom he doesn't know. The Bible said he dropped some money and then he said, take care of him. I'm going to come back and I would pay whatever you are going to spend on making sure this certain man is well and everything about him yields a positive result. There are certain things that we learn from this certain man who received compassion from a certain Samaritan. Compassionate people, when you are talking about compassionate people, compassion is full of passion. And I remember I said compassion starts from your heart. When you see people that are not compassionate, check their hearts. And whatever the status of your heart also depends on your experience. There are some people that they didn't start off to be mean. Their experience has shaped them to become like that. Compassion starts from the heart. And when it comes to compassion and showing people compassion, we also have to use the place of discretion and discernment. Because people can pretend, and you want to be able to show compassion in a way that it yields positive way and you don't feel like you are being used in that situation. So this certain man, there are certain things that we saw that he did. His heart was in the right place. When your heart is in the right place as a compassionate person, you have good intention. That is the first thing. When your heart is right as a compassionate person, you have good intention. Whatever you are doing for people, or you are doing for random people, or you're doing to show compassion, you are not doing it to manipulate them or to make them bend your own way. People sometimes show compassion to save their own face. People sometimes show compassion so that it will be good on their branding. That is using people. That is selfishness. In this story, this man, we don't even know if any other person knew about what he did beside the people that are key to getting the man the help that he needed. Because compassion starts with your heart. We want your heart to be good, to be aligned with where God wants it to be, the right place. Because God himself, we call him a faithful God, because the interaction of God's compassion and his commitment is what produces his faithfulness. We call God a faithful God because of his compassion and because of his commitment to following through. And that was what we saw with this Good Samaritan. The first thing that we saw with this man is that his heart was in the right place. He had a good intention. He was not trying to use the gifts that he was giving people. He was not trying to use the service he was rendering to manipulate people so that they can bend to his way, to manipulate them so that they can be his follower, to manipulate them so that they can give him a like or share his content. No, he had a good intention. He didn't have anything attached. He just wanted to help. When we are being compassionate to others, we should remember that whatever we are doing at that time, we are doing it to God, not for us to get a benefit. Compassion and the act of compassion is not an investment. It is not something you do so that you can get some positive media promotion. Compassion is produced from a good heart. It has to come with a good intention. Intention matters. When you are showing people compassion, you want to check your intention. Why are you doing what you are doing? Are you doing this so that you can get popular? Are you doing this so that you can get a positive vibe on people? Are you doing this so that they can do it for you sometimes in the future? Are you doing this so that you can control them and manipulate them? Are you doing this so that they can support your cause? You want to understand that when we show compassion, the status of our hearts matter. And when we show compassion, another thing that is very, very important, that is different from intention, is that our objective matter. What is your goal for doing that thing? Where are you going? When you show compassion, what do you want to achieve from it? Do you want to benefit another man? If your compassion, if the goal is not to benefit another man in a positive way, then that is not compassion. That is wickedness. Because compassion without wisdom is foolishness. But wisdom without compassion is ruthless. But let's not forget that creativity without compassion is wickedness. When you are generating goods and you are creating products, and those products are not benefiting the public in a positive way, then it is wickedness. Our objective matter. Our intention matter. The state of our heart matters. What do compassionate people do? What are the currencies that compassionate people spend on others? Before I get to who should we show compassion to, or what are the things that we get, and where do we get the reward of our compassion? Before I jump on that, let me just quickly walk you through what do compassionate people do. From the story of this Good Samaritan in Luke 10, the first thing that we saw is that compassionate people are feet movers. They are feet movers. They move to the situation. They move their feet into the situation to see the situation. When we have leaders who don't move their feet to understand the situation of their community, then the leader is not effective. When we have leaders, either in the ministry or in an organization or in a political government position, that doesn't understand the need of a single family, of individuals within that community, then that is not effective leadership. When you are a team leader and you don't understand the situation of the people you are leading, then you are not being compassionate. Because becoming an effective leader requires compassion. That is when you don't micromanage people. You are not micromanaging them because you understand their situation. You have moved their feet into their cube to understand their struggles, the resources that they need to do their job. In this situation, we saw that the Samaritan man moved towards this man in a bad situation to understand what he needed. They are feet movers. They don't just look at people from afar and say, oh, she's smiling, she's doing well. They check on people. They call on them. They visit them in their house to see their living condition. Because people can pretend and tell you, I am doing well. But when you visit them in their house, that is when you see that they are dealing with a very difficult situation or a very difficult health condition. Compassionate people are feet movers. They are feet movers. Compassionate people get their hands dirty. When they move their feet into that situation, they don't just look there and say, hey, yeah, sorry. No, they don't just talk. They get their hands dirty. We saw from this man, he bound up the wounds. He wasn't saying, oh, I don't have CPR certification. I am not good at treating people with wounds. He bound up the wound. He first stepped into the situation and he got his hands dirty. He got his hands dirty. When I was talking about the principle of community, I said there are certain things that we need in our community. We need more compassionate people. People who are willing to get their hands dirty, who are willing to step into the role of helping that single mom to raise their kids. We need more compassionate leaders who understand the predicaments of single families in putting food on the table of their family. Compassionate people get their hands dirty. they get their hands dirty, they get to work. They don't just talk about the situation and look at it and say, oh, I can see what they are going through. And when we are talking about getting hands dirty, there's a story that is coming to my mind, and I'm going to share this story with all humility, not trying to get or toot my own on, but with all humility. Sometimes in 2020, when all the schools were in lockdown, all the kids in the US and across the globe, they were in lockdown, and kids were at home with their parents. In the developed countries, schools quickly switched to Zoom. The kids were receiving their lecture via Zoom. But in developing countries from Africa, many of these kids had to transition to staying home first. They were just staying home doing nothing. And then we started reading so many news of molest, of bad treatment, of violence, domestic violence. We started reading those news in the news of rape and sexual molest of young children. And I took to my social media platform and I just posted my thoughts, because I felt bad. I felt like those kids are at home. They are not doing anything. Many of them, their parents had gone to farms because they have to provide for them. And now the kids are stuck at home with some bad people with bad intention. Sometimes they are family members and they treat those kids in a mean way. And I remember I said in that post that developing countries cannot do social distancing the way developed countries are doing it. I finished writing that post. A couple of people clicked on like. A couple of people added the comments. And I went back. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking, what do I do about this situation? I am not in my home country. We keep reading all this news that is very, very bad about the people, about these kids. What can I do? And I remember one of the comments in that post was from a young man. And he said something about what the education system and the Secretary of Education of my state was doing around that. And I reached out to him and I said, how can he help me? Can he give me the contact of the person in charge of the education of the state where I am from? And I was able to talk to the man. And he said they are doing some they are doing some remote learning, like putting the content on radio. And I asked him a question that he couldn't answer. I said, how will those kids whose parents had gone to farm and they don't even have access to a radio, how will they be able to learn? He said they are still working around that. He said they might use using the television and all that. But he couldn't answer that question. And immediately a thought came to my mind. I remember growing up, we used to have all these community lessons that people would gather within a house or within an empty building, and people would teach. And I reached out to the young man that dropped the comments. And I said, how can you help me? I would like to hire some teachers. I would like to get a venue. I would like to gather some kids together within that neighborhood where I am from, or within my village where I come from in Nigeria, and continue to provide some learning for those kids, particularly for kids whose parents had gone to farm because they are not able, they have to provide food in a way. We got to work. It was a lot of work in terms of first reaching out. We print out flyers. The first day, 120 kids showed up for this remote learning in a building that's not been completed. We had to erect the board. We had to hire teachers. And for about 3 months, until the lockdown was over, we were providing teachings, providing food for these kids. Random people helping random people. That is compassion. Compassionate people get their hands dirty. I remember I couldn't just sleep that night. I said, oh, for my own kids, they have me and they have me and my spouse. We are home with them because we can work with them and still stay at home. But for these people in developing economy, most of these family can't stay at home. They have to go out to get food for their family. How can we help? A certain man helping a certain people. First, you get your hands dirty. I got my hands dirty because that was not even my business. But at the end of that 3 months, those kids, I was able to speak to some of them because we had like a final day activity, given some awards to the kids that performed well and all that. And those kids were just, the guy that was in charge put me on the call, and the kids were just saying all manners of prayer. All manners of prayer. I'm not sure if that was what led to the promotion that I had in that 2020-2021. Because the altar that you serve, is the altar that informs your promotion. Oh, the altars that you serve is the altar that energizes your grace. The altar that you serve is the altar that empowers the power that you carry. Because by the time we enter 2021, many people around me who were looking to God for certain blessing, particularly around kids, many of them were having open doors. Around me, around my family, people were experiencing open door. When we show compassion, we get our hands dirty. But when we get our hands dirty, we invoke the mighty arm stretched out hand of God in our own situation. Compassionate people, they get their hands dirty. They don't look at the situation and say, this is behind me, this is beyond me, I don't know what to do. Everyone can give something. Everyone can do something. When I stepped in to do that in that year, 2020, during the COVID, it wasn't that I had wealth. It wasn't that I had so much. It was just a little that I gave. We don't need much to be compassionate. This man, the Good Samaritan, only gave what was on him. He didn't give more than that. He didn't have to break a bank to show compassion to this certain man. I spent so much on getting your hands dirty. I think that also ties to eyes wet. Eyes wet. You see, some people, they see a difficult situation and they just look at it as if it's normal. That is not compassionate. Compassionate people, they get their hands wet. When they see a situation that is bad and another human being is going through that situation, sometimes they shed tears. The reason why we love God and I love Jesus is the way he showed kindness to vulnerable people. We saw the way he showed kindness to that adulterous woman, that woman that was caught in adultery. We saw the way Jesus wept when he got to the tomb of Lazarus. We saw the way Jesus wept when he saw the people, numerous of them, who were so full of unbelief. Compassionate people get their eyes wet. Sometimes they get their eyes wet in the place. Compassionate people are truth tellers. They are truth tellers. They don't hide the truth. They understand the situation, they assess the situation, and they know when to speak the truth. Compassionate people are truth tellers. They speak the truth against the authority. They speak the truth in the boardroom. They don't, when they know a subordinate that's been doing well, they speak the truth and speak for them. Compassionate people, they are truth tellers. When you know somebody who is doing something great, share their content, like their content. Compassionate people are truth tellers. And the last thing I want to say is that compassionate people are money spender. That is what we saw for this Good Samaritan. Compassionate people, they dig into their pockets and spend some of their saving and spend some of the things that they've saved for them. I remember in the last video, I said, know when you have had enough, know when you have given enough, know when you have spoken enough, know when you have shared enough. But remember to take care of yourself. That is very, very important. And the reason why you show yourself some self-compassion and take care of yourself is so that you can have something to take care of others when you see others in a difficult situation. The reason why you take care of yourself and you take care of your own finances is so that you can have something saved up to take care of yourself. Because only givers get blessed. And I already said that the altars that you have blessed, the altar you have served is going to inform the blessing and the grace and the power upon your life. Compassionate people are money spender. The way we saw with the Good Samaritan, he spent his money. He even came back. He followed through. He was committed. He was faithful. Compassion mixed with commitment produces faithfulness. The reason why we call God faithful is because he's compassionate. And I want to jump into who are the people that we should show compassion to. Who are the people? Like I said, intention matters. Why are you doing that compassionate act? Is it that you're doing it for public PR, public relation, so that you can brand yourself? Is it that you're doing it so that people can see you? I'm appalled when I see people, when they are doing stuff, when they are given to the vulnerable, they will turn on their camera and they will be sharing it so that other people can be viewing them. I know there are times that you want to show people the acts that you are doing. But if the intention is ungodly, then that is totally unacceptable. Compassion starts with you. And then compassion progresses to your immediate family. Your immediate, yes, the people in your house, the people that are living under your roof. If you are given to the community, if you are given in your church, if you are given to the needs of others, and you are not given to the needs of your spouse, to the needs of your kids, to the needs of your siblings, to the needs of your family, then you are an hypocrite. Compassion starts with you. Compassion extends to your household. We are not just called to be showing compassion to ourselves alone or to the community. We are asked to show compassion and respect to our own family. If you are respecting others outside, your family deserves even much more respect. If you are given to others, if you are given to the needs in your community, then your family deserves even more gifts from you. Compassion starts with you, extend to your household, and then it moves on to your community. Because it is in your household that you develop that your compassionate act. And compassion starts with you, extend to your household, then it moves to your community. And then let me quickly talk about what are the benefits, or what do we get when we show compassion to others? What do we get? I already said intention matters. You want to do it just because you want to be a blessing to another human. Not just because you want to toot your own or you want to get some PR. But when we show all this compassion, what do we get? We saw in the case of Abraham, he showed compassion to Lot. Because compassionate people, they don't forget. They don't forget their own family. That was what we saw with Abraham. And what Abraham did when Sodom and Gomorrah was going to be destroyed, I think there are some certain lessons about what the benefits of compassion. The first thing is that the level of your compassion informs the level of your revelation. Many of us want God to speak to us about what is happening in your community, but your heart matters. Because when God sees the state of your heart, that will inform the revelation that it will bring in front of you. Because Abraham values Lot. That information about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah was brought to him. When you show compassion and you care about others, there will be certain information that God himself will be revealing to you about your community, about people. There are times that you are praying and you are praying about yourself, and the Holy Spirit will say, do you remember so and so? This is what is happening to him. This is what you should pray for him. Because you are compassionate. In fact, Many of the offices, the ministerial offices that we have, I mean the pastoral, the prophetic, the teaching ministry, and the words of wisdom, all those ministry, without compassion, without the principle of compassion, you can't be successful in all the ministerial offices. Because as a prophet, you want to be compassionate for God to be able to begin to speak to you about what is going on in other people's life. Your compassion informs the level of your revelation. Your compassion incites your revelation. Because the things that you care about is what God will speak about. If you care about people, God will speak about people to you. If you only care about money, that is what you will receive. Your compassion to people incites the revelation about what they are going through. And your compassion is what distills your revelation. Your compassion is what distills your revelation. And the example that is coming to my mind was the case of Peter. Peter, when he received that cotton that had the several animals, and he said, God, this is not something I am used to. I am not used to all this animal. And then the vision came back again. Kill and eat. Kill and eat. Because Peter was only concerned about the Jews. The Jews. Taking the gospel to the Gentile was not something that he was open to. It was foreign to him. Your compassion about some people that are different from you is what distills your revelation. Is what distills the revelation that you receive. And your compassion is what deepens your revelation. I'm focusing on your revelation here. Your compassion is what deepens your revelation. Because there are certain spiritual gifts and some offices that you can't operate on without compassion. Compassion deepens your revelation. Compassion incites your revelation. Compassion distills your revelation. Compassion is what makes you human. And that is what you use to build your community. Many of the people that have been promoted or have received mercy or have received favor are people that have shown compassion. Let's start with Ruth. Ruth showed compassion to her mother-in-law, Naomi. She followed her to a strange land. In that strange land, God blessed her. She became part of the lineage of our Lord Jesus Christ. Esther showed compassion. She was a truth teller. She put her life on the line to speak for her community. She won. We are talking about her today. Abraham is a man of compassion. Abraham showed compassion to Lot. Abraham showed compassion to the family. And today, we know Abraham as the father of faith. Talk about Joseph. Joseph showed compassion to his brothers. He forgave them. He knew the bigger picture. And he became the prime minister in a foreign land. You know, our compassion to the community sometimes makes us people pleaser. Sometimes we feel like people are using us. Sometimes it makes us feel like we are being used. That we are being manipulated. But when your intention is right, the God in heaven, who has seen what you have given, will reward you in a way that you can never understand. As we are approaching the end of the year, remember to show compassion to your family. Remember to show compassion to your spouse. Remember to show compassion to your community. It's a time of giving, and it's also a time of receiving. Because the giving and the receiving interaction that you receive will inform the promotion that you will experience in the coming year. Hello, compassionate. Thank you for joining me on the Our Platform. This is the Our Platform. Stay safe, stay well. Remember to subscribe. Bye.